Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is a quick little preview for the Errol Spence Jr versus Yordenis Ugas card. Now in regards to the main event, I will, or well, at least I intend to do a prediction video before the week is out, before Friday I would say. So I'm not going to give away my official prediction here, but I just really wanted to run through the card and I'll tell you guys what I think of this card. And I have to say, on the surface, this is a pretty good card. Errol Spence Jr versus Yordenis Ugas, what's not to like there? I mean, it's a welterweight unification fight. Spence is putting his WBC and IBF titles on the line. Yordenis Ugas putting his WBA title on the line. Stylistically, this is a really interesting fight. Battle of two southpaws. Of course, Yordenis Ugas coming off that Manny Pacquiao win. I believe that was last August, I want to say. Yeah, last August. So Ugas is coming off some career best form. Errol Spence, however, is coming off a long layoff. He last fought in December of 2020 against Danny Garcia, and we haven't seen him since. And in that time, he has suffered a retina injury. So, you know, there are question marks around Errol Spence right now in regards to his health, in regards to how long he's got left in the sport of boxing. You know, the last few years for Errol Spence have been somewhat of a disaster. Before the Danny Garcia fight, of course, he was involved in that horrible car wreck where he could have died, and he was very fortunate not to. And after that, he fought Danny Garcia. He successfully came back, and once again he picked up the retina injury after that. So Spence in recent years hasn't been active. We've not seen enough of him. And I think that's a shame because I like Errol Spence. I like his style. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he has in this fight. And again, it's one of those fights we're going to find out exactly what Errol Spence does have against Yordenis Ugas. Because if Errol Spence is shot, or he's still suffering the ill effects of his injuries, then Ugas will find him out. Ugas is too good not to find him out if Spence isn't right here. If Spence isn't right, Ugas will win. However, I do believe Errol Spence will turn up and put on a show. I believe that he is looking good in training. I think he looks in great shape. He looks like he's close to weight already. And yeah, it seems like since that car wreck, he seems to be getting his head down. He's moved out to a ranch in Texas, away from everybody, which is good. And yeah, I'm anticipating Errol Spence to come into this fight with a lot of with a point to prove, basically, a point to prove. And I think you're going to get a very good Errol Spence Jr. As for Ugas, I know we're going to get a good Ugas. He's a professional. He lives for life, no doubt about it. And yeah, stylistically, this is a really interesting fight. For Battle of Southpaws, both guys have an excellent jab. Errol Spence's jab is more offensive. He'll use that jab to force you back to get to mid-range and then work off that, work the body, etc. Ugas, his jab is more, I guess, more of a more to control the distance, I guess I would say. Ugas is more of a boxer, whereas Errol Spence is more aggressive than Yordenis Ugas. And yeah, both guys have a little bit of pop on their punches. Both guys can mix it up a bit. They can mix it up. So put these two guys together, I think you're going to get a very good fight. Errol Spence Jr is the favourite. And yeah, I'll make my prediction video nearer the time. But I'm really interested in this fight. I'm really interested. So yeah, top marks for the main event in my opinion. Top marks from me. On the undercard, now this is a treat of a fight. Radz Abulayev versus Imantas Stanionis. Now this is for the WBA regular title held by Abulayev. Abulayev won that title by beating up Jamal James. He beat up Jamal James in that fight and stopped him late, really worked his body. And yeah, this is going to be an absolute barn burner. I do make Abulayev favourite in this fight, but it could go either way. Radz Abulayev is very aggressive. He does have good technical background as well, good amateur. He does have some good pedigree, I should say. But yeah, he's very aggressive, likes to apply pressure behind that jab. He really likes to dig to that body with good output. He'll try and kind of force you into a he'll try and really drag you into a bit of a street fight. But he does it with good technique at times. He cuts the ring off quite well. He's actually got relatively quick feet in closing the distance. And yeah, he can really kind of he can make you feel uncomfortable in there, as he did with Jamal James. And he carries decent power in both hands as well. So Abulayev is a really good pressure fighter. Stanionis himself is a come-forward fighter, likes to fight on the front foot off that jab, but he's more economical than Abulayev. Abulayev will throw a lot of punches, and he'll put his shots together, whereas Abulayev is more one shot at a time, or maybe a 2 or 3 punch combination. He doesn't really waste too much. He's quite economical, but he does carry power, so maybe he could use that and use Abuleyev's aggression against him and time Abulayev in the exchanges, you know, with a big shot. I think I think Stanionis' best punch is his jab. It's a ramrod jab. It can rock your head back. It can make you reset. And I think on top of that, his other best punch is his overhand right. So yeah, I'd be looking for Stanionis to time Abulayev with the overhand right in the exchanges, because when Abulayev opens up, he does tend to open up with wider punches, so things like hooks, crooked arm punches, and that can leave you open for a straight down the middle or an overhand right. So maybe you could see Stanionis walking Abulayev onto a big shot. I could certainly see that, but I have to say, I think Stanionis, he needs a knockout to win this fight. I can't really see him outworking Abulayev. I struggle to see him winning on points in this one. Unless he gets a lot of knockdowns, I can't really see Stanionis winning on points. I think he needs to win by knockout, because if he doesn't do that, I just think Abulayev outworks him, to be honest, and maybe even stops him late. But I'm going to go with Abulayev in this fight. I'm debating whether it's by stoppage or not. Stanionis looks tough to me, but Abulayev does hit hard. I'm going to say Stanionis on points. Maybe a late stoppage, but Stanionis on points is what I'd say. But this is a very good fight. It's a very good co-main event. Big up to the PBC for putting this one on. Now right here, this is a very interesting fight. Another welterweight fight, by the way. This is a welterweight bonanza on this card. Cody Crowley versus Josecito Lopez. Cody Crowley, of course, recently beat Quadritrilo Abdukakarov, who was the former IBF #1 contender. And he beat Abdukakarov in a really good fight. I think he might have got dropped in that fight, if memory serves me correct. Did he get dropped? Yeah, he got dropped early on. Crowley got dropped early on, and then basically just manhandled and outworked Abdukakarov in that fight. Cody Crowley is not the biggest puncher in the world, but he's physically strong. He's quite a big welterweight, and he's somewhat awkward in his approach. He's one of those guys who really relies on his physicality. And as we know, Josecito Lopez is a outright warrior. He'll come and trade with anybody. We know his style, likes to get in the trenches, work that body, and engage you in a firefight. Put these two styles together, it's going to be fireworks. It's a great fight. And Lopez, again, I have to say the guy's a credit to the sport. Boxing needs guys like Josecito Lopez, and it's smart putting him on this sort of undercard, because you're going to get entertainment. And matching him with Cody Crowley, excellent fight. I actually think this fight's a bit of a hard one to call, because I never really rated Abdukakarov that highly. But having said that, it was still a good win for Cody Crowley, because he was expected to lose. Lopez has actually looked pretty decent in his last couple of fights. He looked pretty good against John Molina, and he looked pretty good against Francisco Santana as well. But they were a little while ago now. I think I'm going to go with Cody Crowley on points in this fight. Really good fight though. Really good fight. Let me have a sip of coffee. Beautiful. We also have the return of Isaac Cruz at lightweight, and he is fighting Yuriokis Gamboa. Mixed, well, not a great fight. Glad to see Isaac Cruz back. He impressed me with certain things that he did in the Tank Davis fight. He made a bit of a name for himself. Very close fight against Tank Davis. And yeah, I'll be interested to see how he looks in this fight. Gamboa, how he's still getting fights. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Maybe he's got some incriminating pictures of certain high-ups in boxing. Who knows? But he's got another big fight here. I don't expect Gamboa to really do much. I expect Isaac Cruz to win. And let's be real, Isaac Cruz needs to look good doing it. He needs to capitalise on that momentum that he got from that fight with Tank Davis. He needs a good performance. He needs to score a knockout. And I think he will do. But yeah, it's good to see Isaac Cruz back. It's something to look at. We also have another lightweight fight. Jose Valenzuela. He is fighting the veteran Francisco Vargas. I mean, Vargas these days has seen better days, has to be said. Most recently, he lost to Isaac Cruz on points. And Valenzuela is a pretty good prospect. I believe he is signed with the PBC. But yeah, he's a decent prospect. This is definitely the biggest step up of his career so far. I know Vargas is way past it, but still, for a guy who's 11-0, Vargas is a pretty good name, quite frankly. It's a pretty good name. Brandon Lee is also on the undercard. A super lightweight prospect. He's one of those guys who, how do I say it? When you look at his highlight reels, etc., he looks extremely good. But when you look at his level of competition, I mean, he's not really done too much of any note, quite frankly, has to be said. So it's hard to say how good Brandon Lee is. He looks good on the eye test, but we've not seen him get hit back. We've not seen him go any serious rounds at a high pace. He's fighting Zachary Ochoa, who I've actually heard of. Where have I seen this guy fight? Okay, so he lost to Velasco in his last fight. Velasco is like a journeyman fringe contender, I guess you would say. And he lost to Yordenis Jr. Okay. I guess this is somewhat of a step up for Brandon Lee, but nothing of any consequence. He should win this fight. But, you know, Brandon Lee is a good prospect. He is worth looking out for. Yeah, see how he looks on the card. Vito Milanecki Jr., he's another young prospect. I believe he's only like 19, 20, something like that. Yeah, 19 years old. 19 years old. But quite frankly, I don't rate this guy whatsoever. I don't think he's going to go far. What can I say? Cruiserweight, Efetabo Apochi, however you say that. I mean, his last fight with Brandon Glanton was a great fight. He's coming back in a 8-rounder. We'll see how he looks. And apart from that, there's nothing else to really look forward to on the undercard. But, I mean, on the whole, the undercard is very good. Great main event, of course. Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas. Excellent fight. Butayev versus Stanionis is a brilliant fight. That could have headlined a regular Showtime card on its own. Excellent fight. Cody Crowley versus Josecito Lopez. Brilliant fight. Isaac Cruz return. That's pretty interesting. And Valenzuela versus Francisco Vargas is a decent fight as well. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I think this is a good card by the PBC. I have to say, it's a good card in my opinion. I know the PBC anti-PBC crowd. They're gonna be picking faults in it, but it's a good card, man. It's a good card. But yeah, share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy